going on, folks? Here in another episode of Real Estate and Sneakers. I am Femi the Agent. I'm Femi the Realtor. And we are going to be talking about two of my favorite things that I love to talk about. Everybody that knows me knows I love sneakers. Well, my son does too. We buy them, wear them, collect them. The ones we don't like, we end up selling. Today we are going to be talking about the Jordan 1 OG Shadow, the Satins. These actually dropped a couple of months ago. I think it's a really, really nice sneaker. I love the material, the satin material. You wouldn't want to wear it on a day like this because today it is raining. What's really dope about this shoe is they got such a good response on the pair that they dropped back in 2017, the Ali May. They did a pair for her, and those are actually pretty much the same exact sneaker. And those are going for like $600 or $700 online, and some even up to $1,000. So, them re-releasing these, I think, based on the hype, I think is a really good shoe to get. And also, they dropped a pair of lows, maybe like 2 or 3 days ago, that has the Swarovski crystals all over them for like $1,800. So you can, maybe grab yourself a pair of these and have somebody customize it for you. I think, like I said, really dope shoe. You should definitely try to see if you can grab yourself a pair. We are going to go to my son now, who's going to let us know what's going on with the market, with the interest rates and stuff.
So right now with the market for a 30-year conventional, it's a little under 7%, maybe about 6.9. For FHA, it's a little under 6.5%. So still a great time to purchase, still a great time to, sell, depending on your needs. And, there's a lot of noise with the market, the economy, this, that, and the third. But depending on your situation specifically, you definitely need to sit down and consult with somebody. If you have kids going away to school, or, you're looking to put them in a different district, that's not going to change. The economy is not going to change that. So, depending on your needs and what what criteria you have, definitely owning a home is something you want to check off. Whether you're living in it, you're cash flowing from it, whatever needs you have, you definitely want to sit down and consult with somebody and, put money into your own mortgage versus somebody else's.
So we have a guest here, a guy that I've been talking with for a while, and a really, real busy guy who does business really in 2 states. My guy Alan Zapadinsky. We want to thank you for giving us part of your time, because I know you have a lot going on. So we definitely appreciate you sitting down and chopping it up with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You being a big sneaker guy, the ones that we just finished talking about, does that look like something that you would add to your arsenal?
I'm definitely not cool enough to wear the high tops. I'm a big low top guy.
Okay.
But those are beautiful. I sold a Swarovski once. I was in the jewelry business.
You saw it, right?
Yeah, I was in the jewelry business for 10 years before real estate. And so that what are those going for? Like over
they retailed at $1,000, and now they're going for almost $2,000. They dropped like less than 48 hours ago.
They're very cool. I mean, obviously wearing them on a rainy day, probably not the best idea.
Not the best thing, right?
Yeah, you go picking up a lot of gems on the floor. Yeah. But that's a beautiful sneaker, especially with dark clothing and stuff. It pops real nice.
Yeah. Well, you being a big Jordan 1 guy, right?
I'm a big Jordan 1 guy. Oh yeah. As a kid, my parents couldn't afford sneakers.
Yours or mine,
right? And so I got knockoffs of things. Old Reeboks that was I think Payless. They made like some similar looking color. I got those, and so as an adult, having had some success with real estate and other things.
Nice.
I have a nice wall as I'll show you a picture, but it's a nice wall of my youth, sort of reliving there. I do wear them. As
we don't just collect; we actually wear our sneakers.
Yeah, when I play baseball cards, I play with them too. Maybe that didn't help the value of them. I don't think the value has changed so much anyway. But
right.
It's sort of like a useful thing for me, and a thing that hey, I've been able to get that thing that I couldn't have as a kid. My parents did well to get me out of that situation.
Right. Yeah, I know. Like you said, the way you grew up, the way I grew up too, it's the same thing. Because for us, it was 5 of us growing up. So everything I wanted, my dad was not going to buy me. So I think it kind of just pushed me to work a little bit harder, and you get to a point where you can actually afford some of those things, and that now becomes the staple.
I'm sure you shared rooms with. I shared a room. Yeah, my sister's 10 years older than me, and I shared a room with her my entire childhood.
Yeah, until I left home when I was right before I turned 18, I was sharing a room with my brother. So
it's a beautiful thing. I also do like to say that I will run through walls for my clients, so I need a lot of shoes.
We need a lot of shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, that should maybe be a catchphrase sheet.
We're gonna put that down on some business cards next.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you were saying what was it that you did before you got into real estate?
So I was way back when I was a professional level tennis player.
Nice.
So helping get a scholarship to college.
Nice.
And after school, I focused more on school, kind of graduating. It was a tough school environment, so I didn't know what I wanted to do. I got in, I had a nice Ivy League diploma, didn't know what I wanted to do. I actually bartended for about 6 months. My parents were thrilled.
I'm sure they were.
And then my brother-in-law was actually in a jewelry business at that time for many years. And so I went into that with him, selling jewelry all over the country, mom and pop stores. I go into Philly with a duffel bag and a little cap, baseball cap, a little school bag.
You try to get in and out, right?
Just to look like a college student. Then I'm looking in my rear view mirror to do a base of tactics.
Right.
This is a little safer real estate, but I did that for about 10 years. And then, my mom got sick. I had to sell my place. And then I kind of got a taste of what real estate was like. And
that transaction.
I fired the agent I was working with for 2 years. He wasted my time. They were selling other sponsor units in the building. And I fired him. I did it on my own. I lost a ton of money doing that. So I don't recommend for sale by owners for sure. But it did.
You hear that, folks?
Don't do it. But we're in the business of people's major transitions, right? Like I needed to sell to be closer to my mom and help her out. I was out of a relationship. I needed, there's sad things that happen. You have death, you have divorce, you have bankruptcies. You also have positive things that happen. You have relocating for work or expanding a family. So that was more meaningful to me than making an engagement rate for somebody I would never meet. We were mass producing these things.
Right.
So it just became a real more meaningful responsibility.
Yeah, with the jewelry, I guess there was no, like you said, because you weren't dealing directly with the customer, there was no emotional attachment to any of it.
Yeah, if it came a day too late after they wanted to propose, you get a nasty email. But here you're face to face with the people you're trying to help. And so I really fell in love with that. After losing my dad, kind of tragically, I really said, thank you. I said, life is short. I want to do something super meaningful and make a lot of money for my family. And so every day I sort of found myself waking up and saying, who can I help today?
Nice.
Right? Like the money will come. If I'm thinking about commission checks while I'm interacting with the clients, I'm not placing their priority in their transition in the forefront.
But I think when you're doing that too, Alan, like you said, it always comes across and it resonates. People can tell you when you are genuine about what you do or when you're working out of desperation.
It's so easy now to pinpoint who's full of it, right? And so one of the real reasons behind why people, I think, work with us is that we will put you ahead of anything. We're in situations in real estate where, you could not do the right thing always, or you're in a position where it's easier to do something as opposed to having a tough conversation or have that extra negotiation step. And so I found myself always, who can I help today? And if I go into it with that mentality, I'm always going to be doing the right thing.
And always come out on top.
And yes, and always come out on top, but you always are doing the right thing. And the money and commission will come and the sale will conclude in a better way. People can feel it if you're full of it, or if you're just trying to get them in and out.
Oh, full of shit.
Full of shit. I was asking before. Now I'm hesitant to curse. If you're full of shit, they'll know really quickly.
Right.
We have, with the attention span so short, you pick up on these videos and the Instagram and the posts. Everybody's attuned to what not trust because of it. So, and especially in our environment right now, I think, it's really refreshing. At least what I do is to have a little bit of fun with the client, also have that real serious side of it. Right. And I think that those two factors really make us kind of stand out.
I think it makes it easier for you to kind of ease into those conversations when we need to have the serious conversations with our clients.
I lead with my story. And when I first, agents, when they first sit down to do a listing from, they're like, take me around the house. I never understood that. Why am I staring at your backside while I'm trying to get you're walking me around the house. I'm like trying to talk and learn about you at the same time. I automatically sit down. I say, here's a little bit about me. And here's how I got into real estate. It gives maybe a foundation of what you're going to get. And then I want to know, hey, why are you doing this? Why are we here today?
Right.
And I feel like a lot of the, other agents that we see are kind of work, not necessarily in our offices, but we see it out there. You can feel that commission breath. That's true. We try to avoid that as a true to all at all times.
I think also the way that you lead off, it helps break the ice because people are so used to everybody coming at them, like you said, for different things. And they already have this preconceived notion of real estate agents. They pit us up with car sales.
Car salesman. Yep.
So when you lead off with that, it kind of, no offense to car sales. But it helps to kind of take the wall down a little bit in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you know going into the client situation, if it's a buyer, if it's a renter, or a landlord, that you are aware of that out there, right? You will differentiate yourself if you can say, hey, this is how I approach it. This is what I will do. You want to test me? We have our agreement here. Send your friend to our open house. If we don't treat them incredible,
nice,
you can fire us. I will put that on the contract.
Nice.
Test me if that's something you feel like you need
to do.
And that keeps me on my toes, right? I pretend that there is that possibility happening on every phone call, every text,
every interaction.
I assume that I need to be on my A game because that's what I would want.
Right.
One of the reasons I think it lands this approach is because that's what I would need, right? Like for me, if I had to hire the perfect agent, I want them to be a top negotiator. Number one, that's what we're doing here.
Right.
We're negotiating pieces of paper with signatures on. The other, number two things, I got to be able to trust them. And so everything I'm doing in the beginning and throughout the transaction is, hey, I could have, by the way, here, we're in the middle of the transaction. I could have done this. Other agents do this sometimes. Here's why I'm doing it. And here's what I'm doing.
Right.
So I think that makes the big difference. And being in two states actually really helps me out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. With what you saying, people liking and trusting you. I know Zig Ziglar said something like that too. People do business with who they like and like to trust, right?
Yeah.
You going to ask a question?
Yeah, I was going to say, with the business you do now, and how long have you been in the business?
I just hit my 10-year anniversary with Keller Williams.
Nice.
So yeah. I had less wrinkles 10 years ago, and you got.
I had more here 20 years ago.
You still look younger than me. You're older than me. You still look way younger than me. So it's been doing this for 10 years.
Nice.
I just had my anniversary. I interviewed with other firms in the beginning, but I'm in Keller through and through since day one.
Nice. Is there a particular deal or client that stands out as a turning point for you?
There's. That's hard. That's a great question. We have clients that are going through so many different phases of their lives, from retirement. We had a client down in New Jersey, and he actually owned a property in Brooklyn. And without selling that home in New Jersey, they couldn't retire down to Florida. And so, being a part of that, I can't see myself what I'm doing in 20 years, but I think I would like to be somewhere else, possibly, and somewhere more relaxed than New York, possibly, right? That's me, right? I love the warmer weather. To me, that's a huge thing. You kind of build yourself up all your life, and you own an asset for 20 years, and you want to make sure you're getting the best. We have only really one shot at this from the beginning, right?
Sure.
If you don't price it right, if you don't market it right, you take your cam phone shots that are dark. There's some decisions there that really have a huge impact.
I'll take a lead just from your car.
Yeah. See it, right? So we will invest in our client's sale because they're investing in us as well for one of the biggest decisions
that they're going to make in their life.
So this was a couple, Jerry and Maritza, where we were able to sell their home. They were able to move down to Florida, and they're loving life there. I was down in Florida. I visited them just to say hello.
Nice.
And she made some lunch and had a couple of drinks, and they were really just so happy at this point in life, and they're elated, right? And we did a deal for him in Jersey. We did a deal for him in Brooklyn.
Nice.
And investment property in Brooklyn.
Nice.
So we find that I have a lot of our businesses coming is in New Jersey, and we have a lot of New York license plates that are at our open houses in New Jersey for whatever reason. And we speak New Yorker better than any other realtors, in my opinion, in New Jersey. So, balancing that business is real interesting.
How is it for you because you are licensed in two states? If you can talk about that, because you know we do business in a bunch of different areas, and you and I were talking about that off camera. Because New Jersey, they have different rules and regulations, and in New York, we also have different rules. So how do you balance that? If you want to talk about that,
It's very interesting. So we have, there's, in my opinion, we have a lot more potential for ego things to get wrong. We have so many people in these transactions, right?
Right.
Buyer, a seller, attorney, right? You have the agent on each side. So that's 6 people. You got a title, so
right.
an inspector. You have so many different chefs, facets. They're all sort of have their own lanes of what they need and what they want to accomplish.
Right.
I just, my personal feeling is that in New Jersey, it's a lot less of the nonsense that I experience sometimes in New York. There's less of the ego. Sometimes you get the feeling like somebody's showing a home. It's their home.
Right.
And so
the emotion out of it.
We play a little differently in the sandbox in New Jersey. Is this sort of the what I've been feeling the last couple of years, just doing that out there. Yeah, you have different protocols with paperwork. You do the contract in New Jersey, you don't do the contract, and then in New York, you have an attorney that starts it all. So there's procedural stuff. So you have to sort of take off your hat, and which I really like.
But that also keeps you on your toes, being licensed in 2 states.
Yeah. So I have listings in New York. I have listings in in Manhattan and Brooklyn, and then we have things in Cliffside Park in New Jersey and Mendham and different towns in Springfield and Mountainside and different areas. And I grew up in apartment buildings my whole life. That's been an interesting adjustment. That green stuff in the front of the yard, of the house, and in the back sometimes. And it's been a real exciting thing. And there's just so many micro markets within New York,
right,
and so many agents. I think it's harder to differentiate yourself in New York. In New Jersey, I think there's a lot more possibility for me, at least, to get a brand out there. And that hey, we're the 2 state titans. We can do it. We can talk to New Yorkers that are moving out to New Jersey, and we can have that conversation with New Jersey people looking to come back to the city. And that to me is being able to handle both sides is a real interesting kind of approach to that.
But I think also for you, it shows one of the things that differentiates you from a lot of different agents is that you are well versed in 2 different states.
Yeah, you want an apartment, you want to run a house, you want to, a lot of maybe features of living in a city life. Having a town that has like an active, main street.
Right.
So understanding those things, maybe you have some people that are going from, tight quarters. I had, it was really funny. We had a 1-bedroom listing in Financial District for $700,000, 600 square feet. So 1 bedroom, 700,000, 600 square feet. We had a 2-acre property in New Jersey, for $700,000.
That's when them aces.
I put that post up. I said, what would you like? We can do both.
Whatever you want. Right?
Whatever you want, right? Some people want the quiet and privacy at some points of their life, or some people want some action. I went to go see a Broadway show yesterday, which was amazing.
Oh, I was there. I went to go see Othello last week.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that was decent.
It was decent. Okay.
No, that was more than decent. It was Denzel. And
Denzel. There you go. We saw Glenn Ross, famous movie from the 80s. And it's just so much going on, right?
Yeah.
Like that for me used to be my thing. I loved all the action and the noise and the hustle and bustle. Now I got the kids and wife, and I'm in the suburbs, and that to me is more my speed. But I'll go and enjoy that, and I'll go show homes and I'll do that stuff.
Yeah, but it's from Brooklyn. Sorry to cut you off. I think I love the action as well. But like you said, once I left Brooklyn when I was 18, and then we moved to Long Island. So you kind of balance it out, but sometimes you still want that action.
Yeah.
Then you get away from it.
And you can still commute there. So, 45 minutes on a train, the direction. We have a lot of reverse commuters that work in the city, live in Jersey, and Jersey, vice versa.
Nice.
So we can take those people on and speak their language.
Yeah, language.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was going to say, with everything you're doing now, how do you have a team? How big is your team? How do you have everything set up and late?
Yeah. So we have a team of agents in New York and a smaller team in New Jersey. We have a lot more lock boxes. We don't do that as much in New York City. for a number of reasons, but we have the MLSs in New Jersey where it's an organized system for showings and people know where you're going. We have a very good foundation of admins that we've been employing for years.
Nice.
A lot of them are virtual. All of them actually are now virtual. We used to have an in-house person, but we found that to be cost effective. We found that to be super focused,
More organized.
way more organized. We have people that just do social media. We have people that just do applications and making sure the transaction is moving forward. We have checklists and system stuff that I suck at, actually.
You and me both.
I'm terrible at, but we have that infrastructure set up for, showing agents. I have a partner, Michael Parker, that we work together with in New Jersey. I have my own team in New York, and we have showing agents, and then we have, our support staff with the virtual admin from overseas. And it's one of the best decisions I ever made was really to lean into that assistance for. I can't do the graphics. I can't do some content. I can do some content maybe, but I want to go on listing appointments, do some open houses, and grow the business.
You want to do what you're really good at.
Really good at. That one thing is for me is to talk to people and get them to trust me and remember my name when the time is right. Right? Like people buy once every 7-10 years.
7-10 years.
I'm not selling T-shirts out here.
Yeah.
I'm selling the remembrance of me.
Right.
And so I can spend most of my time doing that. Is what I do every day.
Is it one transaction coordinator that you have that handles both states for you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're able to do that. And with technology, so, it's got to be a bit of tech and a bit of hands-on. You can't just rely on one or the other to grow the business. And so we've leaned in pretty heavy into tech, but with a, analog sort of touch.
Sure.
You have to sort of have that. People want to feel like you're not just another check and number. So we have active conversations with our clients and engagement.
Yeah, that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask. I was going to say, how has technology changed the way you did business in recent years?
So I think that we've been able to do a lot more and stay in touch, like we just spoke about. Is 7 to 10 years is sort of the average. I can't just call them and I know that 7-year mark. When is that? I have no idea. But if we touch a little poke here and there on an email and a poke with the Instagram post or a LinkedIn post or whatever, over the course of that time and saying, hey, you're happy. I hope you're happy. I'm still here. I hope you're happy where you are. But if you want to make one of those transitions or you know of anybody else that's looking to make a transition, remember me.
Yeah.
Remember this face. And so that's, I think is really important to have that tech piece. We can send out mass emails. I can't send out one email at a time. We have the software to do that. We have the ability to get posts. I can't handwrite cards as much as I do, but I actually got back into that just to get a little analog feel. Tech, leaning into tech, but we're having a human touch. If we send out I see some agents out there figured out a loophole to that. I got this the other day from an agent. It was a handwritten card, but it wasn't handwritten like that.
Handwritten, right?
It was digitally handwritten. It looked
to still give the feel.
Garbage. I threw it right away. So that to me is not the thoughtful. That's actually doing the stuff that I don't want to be known for, the salesman approach.
Right.
So you got to really see the fine line of what you can do on a scale and then add in a personal touch. One of the things we do is, maybe laugh at this, is that we send out a questionnaire to all our clients when we first engage with them. And it has nothing to do with our real estate.
Nice.
It's a short questionnaire, about 15 questions that says, hey, what was the most, and just to give you a sample of the questions, what was the most, impactful experience you had in your life that you learned the most from? What was your hardest thing that you went through?
Nice.
What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite? Do you like whiskey or do you like coffee or tea or do you like water? I know my clients better than anybody. And the last question in that thing says, hey, my competition that interviewed with you or that you may know, do they know you as well as I do?
Very thought-provoking questions.
Yeah. And so I think that's one of the big differences in the agents is the ability to ask questions. Are you just going to say statements with a period or an exclamation point? Are you going to ask the questions to make it about them?
When did you, because me talking to you and what I do know about you, I know you seem like a very high D personality.
Yeah.
Because I'm very high D.
It comes from the sports and like the Soviet background I'm from. It's like you got to work hard and like do stuff.
Right. Yeah. Mine is like Brooklyn and Nigeria.
There you go.
When did you start to feel like, I guess you needed to do more delegated to get more to
It's
do what you're really good at?
really good question. So the moment you start bucking up deals
Okay.
or getting,
Complaints?
that means that you've taken on, it could be just that you're lazy and doing the right things. But for me, it was, I was getting too much business and I couldn't be there all the time.
Right.
Back in 2019, 18, I was
Right before COVID.
I had to go right before. I had to go get a weekly chiropractic. It was, my health was getting affected while gaining weight. I was going down up and down these walk-ups in East Village. I was doing, not joking, 15 to 20 showings and rentals a day.
Wow.
And so at some point I'm like, I can't do this. And I got a hold of the Keller Williams system in my brain at that point. And I started leveraging out and getting showing agents and they'd get a percentage of the deal and I could train them. I always love the new agents because they don't have the baggage. And so
They don't know any better to do some of the things that people are telling them to do and not do.
yeah, I mean, think about it. You're used to doing something a long time. It's hard to break that mold. I love getting, right? I love getting new agents and so that they're moldable to things I know work and how I do business. I don't do business like somebody else. Somebody else might not walk out with the low tops on and the blazer, right? Like I'm that guy, right? And so I
think that's why we click.
That's why we click, right? So we can have, and it works for me. And I tend to gravitate towards the people that we work with on our teams in a similar kind of approach. They have some fun. There's some level to this that has to have some level of fun or breaking the seriousness, because we have a lot of things going on for clients that are serious and death, divorce, bankruptcies, and just transitioning from phases and out of
their lives.
Yeah, true. Got to have some element, for me at least. I think that's why the listings that I sign are the people kind of feed into that and buy into that.
Well, they buy into you and they buy into your system and they buy into how you work.
Yeah, I think that works well. We take on all different types of clients. We all turn them away. It's just the ones that we have the best experience with will trust us and, realize that we have to have some level to break the monotony of what's going on.
Everyone doesn't need to be so serious.
It doesn't. We still, the parts can be ready to handle. The negotiations can be serious. It can be, the inspection can be serious. All different elements, is levels to that.
Right.
But in the genuine scheme of things, we are people. I'm not a robot. And
we start off with that.
I'm a person and I own a home. I've been through the buying process. I've been through the selling process. A lot of agents haven't. And maybe that's why they're so cold to it. Or, so I think we could all do better as an industry if we sort of had some of that together. Better understanding of, this is important work. Let's not make it about not answering our phones, right? Like, how many agents have you called to get into an appointment? They don't pick up the phone, but they'll text you right away. This is, you got to hear your voice.
We got to have conversations.
You got to have conversations of some kind. It can't be on your terms. That other person's terms always.
Well, it's always, I think everybody, like you said, with all the egos and everything that's going on with the business, you forget that it's not about you as the individual. It's about the people that you're serving.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of them, you may do a couple of deals, but you're not going to last.
They've been watching too many reality shows.
That's the problem. Well, that and TikTok, right?
That and TikTok. It's, you got to come up with something edgy and interesting and to get some people to pay attention on those platforms. So I get it. I think in general, a lot of those things don't happen in the deals. I mean,
well, you and I both know all that. I try to tell people all the time, internet is fake.
Yeah.
They say believe of half of what you see and what you hear.
Yep.
And that's really what it's about.
I completely agree. We have these ideal versions. I see a lot of times even agents posting videos of things that are not their listings to make it seem as if it's their listing. It just drives me crazy about things.
Well, you're trying to look busy?
Trying to look busy.
I
can go, it's a Seinfeld episode. There's he's like he doesn't want to get fired. He's like, he doesn't have the job, doesn't know what he's doing. He has the job, doesn't know what he's doing.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, George.
Oh, George. Yeah.
Just always a little bit frustrated. Oh. And so, you have some elements of that. I just never found that to be effective for me. I do plenty of agents that have get a lot of views and likes on that, which is fine and fun. And, that's just not me. If I tried to do it, it wouldn't land. Mm-hmm. For me, the content that lands is having real conversations about real estate and like-minded and spreading out more of that sort of reality of what's going on and giving you a little bit of the tidbits. One of the things I found funny was talking about car dealers, I'm the worst person to go car shopping with. Really, like my wife will send the car. She doesn't have anything to do with it because you have pressured people coming at you, and that's not my thing. You got to read your room.
Right.
And so, I go in once to the guy I'm currently using, and he goes, "Alan, get out of here for today." I was like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, come back at the end of the month." I'm like,
What are you talking about?
"What are you talking about?" It's like, "No, I can do better on the price for you if you come back on Thursday." And he showed me this, like, when I come in with you, my manager's going to come in and say, "Go get these different packages. Get this one. I use that for my kids. Don't get that one. That's a waste of money. Don't do that." He showed me the behind the scenes stuff of the industry.
I like that.
That's what I do for my clients too.
Right.
Hey, this is what has happened to me in the past. This is what I can do. This is my little pro tip is, hey, when you go see a home, there's cameras everywhere on the Ring doorbell, or there's
in those hallways, all
we talk after.
so,
20, 30 feet away. I'm still a little nervous because an agent could be listening to the conversation. So little things to show them the behind the scenes and the pro tips, I think also goes a long way.
It does.
Don't say anything in the apartment, good or bad. I had a client once, he goes, "Go for this place, it sucks." And I was like, "But you like this one?" He's like, "I do." I was like, "But you just said it for the whole room." And they're listening, and now we're going to get destroyed in the negotiation. So I always put the disclaimer, don't say anything positive, but don't also say anything negative.
Exactly. You got to keep that poker face. Yeah. I mean, I respect your that car salesman. I mean, what I would say to you,
I go to him all the time now.
Yeah.
Now, when somebody shows you the behind the scenes of the industry, or gives you some information to have a pro tip, and it's not just, hey, let's go see homes. It's not just that. We go see the homes, but here I always would tell the clients, I said, look, when you see these pictures, be careful. Some of the size might be off. When you send me this listing, it could be gone. Maybe the listing agent didn't update the listing,
right? Which happens so much.
Which happens so much. Yeah. So you guys,
especially when it's underpriced.
When it's underpriced, right? It could be gone. It could be just a lead gen tool for somebody to get some more buyers, right?
Exactly.
So having them pump the brakes on certain things that are what they feel and should do. But I know I've been doing this a long time. We've seen, between my partner and I in New Jersey, we've seen 2,000 transactions.
Wow.
So we've seen it all at this point. And so I like to include them in on the behind the scenes and the pro tips of stuff. I don't have to. We could just go see stuff and I can put in an offer or whatever, but I want to involve them and include them.
When you involve them, I think they more understand what we do, and I think they're respected a lot more as well. And like I said, kudos to that car salesman. I used to deal with car salesmen. I only just deal with the brokers now.
Yeah.
I can't deal with the car salesman. I can't. I spent a whole day at I don't have the patience.
I'm blacklisted probably on 3 or 4 car dealerships. I'm so horrible. I'm so nice outside of that environment, but when you have the high pressure stuff, it doesn't work on certain people, right? We have the disc profile, like Keller Williams, that we teach.
Right?
You're in certain sort of personality types, and this approach will help with a certain type.
Right.
If I talk really fast and I have some energy, that will scare somebody else.
Sure.
That is more into like a calmer and subdued and analytical approach than it is going to be to just come at them full blast with the energy. And it's one of my catchphrases, it's a great day to be alive and in the real estate business. That will scare somebody.
Right.
All right. Who can I help today? I have don't go mental, call Alan for your sale or rental. I mean, that's going to be funny to somebody.
It will.
Somebody else is not going to,
they may not be into it, right?
They might be into it. So, you got to know your audience and sort of understand some psychology. I mean,
know your audience and read the room.
Well, yeah. What do you do? What are the 2 things you do every day that you can say for the real estate business? I mean, for me, I can say I try to talk to as many people as possible, and I read. I have to do those 2 things, otherwise I haven't accomplished my day.
Yeah, I read, and then I try to I watch a lot. For the last couple of weeks, I've been watching a lot of stuff on Kobe Bryant. Okay, as far as like his mental and just his approach to things.
I love it
because I'm a season ticket holder.
Aside from the sneakers,
yeah. I'm a season ticket holder for the Nets, so I've been going to the games. I think probably for the last 15, 20 years.
Very cool.
But I never got a chance to see Kobe Bryant play. I saw Jordan play, but I didn't see Kobe play, and I had a chance to meet him actually because I know somebody that knew him.
Wow.
So to not have that and him not be here anymore, it just I don't know, it hurts. And you just try to tune into some of those things just to watch like his thought process and his work ethic.
I mean, that, how many practice shots?
How many practice shots?
He mostly missed. Like if you're batting to 300 or 250, you're like one of the world's best baseball players.
Baseball players, right?
You're striking out 7 times essentially and getting 3 out of 10 is your world class.
Right.
I was a tennis player, so I know this. I used to practice 4 or 5 hours a day for a match that's an hour, hour and a half. Kobe was shooting shots, hundreds of thousands of them. I think he missed more than he made.
That he made. Jordan
Right.
too, because Jordan is at my top. He's my top, and then Kobe's right under. I don't understand why people skip over Kobe.
You got to study these.
And you're talking about LeBron. I'm like, I don't understand, but that's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But that it's a mental sport too. I can wake up every day and not have the drive to go talk to people. Hand out my business card. Go and I go to coffee shops that I frequent or breakfast spots, and I know those owners by now, and I'm trying to spread the word. Hey, can I leave some business cards? I showed you my business card. I have these little holders that I made so I can put them out in front of some of these shops. So and they're cool with it.
Right.
So if I'm not doing that, trying to get more business and spread the word, I'm reading something every day, at least an hour or two of some sort of, like for Kobe for you, or watching that stuff. Some people are more visual. Some people can read the book. I have bad vision, so I'm doing the audio cheat there.
I used to have good vision, and I lost that probably 25 years ago with the computers.
Oh, really?
I never wore glasses my whole life until, like I said,
I lost 50% of my vision in my right eye during COVID.
Wow.
Yeah. So these things are heavy. I read a lot about Helen Keller, actually, right?
Okay.
And she said, somebody asked her one day about, is being blind the worst thing that ever happened? And she said, no, having no vision.
Wow.
Because blind is what you see in front of you. Vision's down there. And so it's powerful. It was actually a really rough few months for me when I lost a lot of vision in my right eye. I have special lenses now that help out, but it was terrifying. I mean, I just had kids, and I'm thinking ahead. Am I going to earn money for them? How am I going to see them literally do things in life? And so I think that sometimes you have those moments, and I had this in tennis, and I had that in jewelry. We have these moments where they're like, what am I doing? And am I doing it for the right reasons and for the right people and all that? Or am I just kind of looking busy like George Costanza?
Yeah. But I think, like you said, sometimes that's it's a wake up moment, number one. Number two, I think it's also a defining point sometimes in our lives, because we've all gone through things, and you being a leader, me being a leader, we fall so many times, but the ones, the things that happen to kind of define you is the way that you get back up, because you can't just stay down there. Because you have people that are looking to you, I have my son, I have my daughter, they're all looking to you for certain things, and you can't just give them that negative energy. They're looking for something positive, or they're looking for advice. And if you're coming to them from a negative standpoint, it doesn't help them.
It'll leech onto them too for what they're doing, right? We have a tough position as men to be able to, take that responsibility on it. If men, you and I, in our roles here, to be able to take the hard and the tough stuff, and to be able to keep it inside sometimes, or let it loose in some ways, right?
Try to find a positive behind
You go to the gym, or you find your moments to be vulnerable with it. You don't want to do that in front of your kids and stuff. We're all human like that, right? But having that why am I doing this, and having that what do I need to do today, those two things are really, that does a Keller Williams thing, right? What is the one thing I need to do today to make sure my business is growing? To me, it's always talking to people, generating those leads, and always connecting, finding ways to connect folks. And the why for me is why we're doing that for my family, right? I want to have, just like why I couldn't have the sneakers. My dad, he couldn't have anything. He was in Moldova, and they came here with $100, didn't speak a word of English. He got much more than his folks, and then the goal is to always sort of get more for our kids. Right?
When you talk about your dad, I think about mine too. My dad didn't start reading until he was 16.
Wow.
So his dad didn't know any better, didn't even want him to go to school. So it's always about trying to, I guess, future pace, or trying to, everything they don't want you to do, you're trying to find a way to do something else, to try to push the narrative and to do something a little differently.
Do it differently, make sure it's moving forward, and going backward in anything. Is it the temptations there? We got a lot of noise out there.
A lot of noise.
So much noise out there, a lot of distraction between, what's going on in the world and what's going on financial markets and what's going on personally. There's so much noise there. Having some consistency in your business and how you treat your family and why you're doing this, it keeps you sort of level, at least for me. Pictures of my kids everywhere. I don't have my phone right now,
Right.
but I have them on my wallpaper. I have them in front of me on my desk. I have them in my car pictures, as a reminder, right? Like, I don't have competition. I don't.
Your only competition is in the mirror.
I look at that guy every morning. That's my
You
competition.
You and me both.
Yeah, I put on the makeup. I put on the mascara. No, I put on. I get myself ready for the day, and I'm ready to roll. That's my competition. If I can do what I need to do for myself, it doesn't matter what anybody's doing. In fact, I look at it as like all the boring stuff I see in terms of marketing and things with agents. I zig. They zig, I zag. I try to do things differently.
Nice.
And I don't be boring. That's one of the other things I kind of have on my daily mantra. Like, I don't send a single boring email. It's like, yes, move-in date is the 34th. I don't send anything like that. I always make every interaction I have somewhat memorable or interesting. That's a really great lesson I had. How many emails don't say, hi, so-and-so, they're just a line. Like, I avoid that at all costs.
Right.
Every marketing thing I do has to be interesting. It can't be boring, because it's boring to me.
It's definitely good.
It's definitely boring to everybody else.
Right.
So,
Would you say that that's what your niche is?
great.
What differentiates you from a lot of?
I'm trying to do that the last few years. Yeah, the last year or two, we've been focusing on doing some really edgy sort of advertisements, and I think that's inspired me, because it doesn't make it boring. Every day is sort of interesting. How can I think of I'm not reinventing the wheel totally, but I'm putting on, a different spoke. That wheel's still going to be there, but I'm trying to figure out ways to, and ChatGPT can help you too, but I'm trying to figure out ways to sort of separate more, because I get all these postcards and these boring emails I unsubscribe to.
Right.
Can't do it. I refuse to do it.
That's a question.
Yeah, I wanted to go back a little bit. I wanted to ask, what was one of the biggest challenges you faced early in your career? How did you overcome it?
So I was in the beginning of my career, not knowing what I don't know. Right. So I think one of the things that was the biggest mistake was I would sit in the classroom. The first 5 months, I didn't go out there and do stuff. I thought I could sort of learn that way by kind of just going to the different Keller Williams classes. And it's
a professional student?
Yeah, I was a professional student. And then at some point I'm like, let me just go out. I don't care if they're moving dates in 5 months or they're, for a rental, or let's say that they're just like, I want to live in the Bronx. I want to live in, so many different areas. Like, how could I be there for this and know about enough of these? I've been to I've been through Staten Island. I don't think I've ever been to anything outside of the
roots. You get some Staten Island.
That's about
it. Nothing else.
I have a couple buddies that are from Staten Island. That's about it, right? So, getting out there and fucking up, and getting out there and just cutting my teeth. I mean, I was running around. I was trying to set records. I wanted to do at least 3 deals a day. Then I was like, can I do 4 deals a day? And then a couple of years in a row, we did 600 deals as a team. And I had big accounts that we were doing at the time. And maybe, that's another story, but we ship business models. But getting out there more and shadowing somebody, I don't care what industry you're in. If you can get out there and find somebody who let you work for free and just be a fly on the wall, that's part of, I do some coaching. And that's what one of the strengths we have is in the coaching program is, hey, you're going to listen in on some calls. You're going to hear me talking to a client here and there. You're going to be at the buyer itinerary for what we're seeing today.
Got it.
You want to tag along, just don't open your mouth. Just be very certain whatever you say is going to land right. I would have done that differently. I did a lot of just sort of sitting back 5-6 months. I think I lost a little bit there. I should have found somebody that would let me work an open house for free. I would pay somebody. I would get into coaching too more. That was it. I didn't get into coaching for myself until like 6 years in. I think that would have made a huge difference.
I think a lot of us, though, like you said in the beginning, we have no clue what we're doing. Like my first year in the business, I only did 1 deal. That was me buying a house, because I got into the business
to save on the commission.
To save on the commission to get a house, and feel like I had the inside track. So I got licensed in April, found a house in May. closed in July, and exactly a week later, I got laid off from work. So I learned all that within less than 4 months of being in the
Trial by fire.
Trial by fire. I knew nothing. I didn't even do a home inspection on the house. So I bought a house. My broker took half the money, and I learned nothing else that whole year. I didn't do any business, but I had no clue what I was doing because I was working at a mom and pop. So there was no training.
Yeah.
There was no direction. So, but you, like you said, everything for us is trial and error.
Yeah.
But for a lot of these agents now, with a lot of these companies, with them having the training and just some of the different things that they do, it's like you really got to take advantage of it and stop playing around.
Yeah, I mean, when I got into the industry,
when you take the business seriously,
it's a real business. It's not just, hey, I know a few people. You give me somebody that has one person here has all the leads in the world, but they don't know how to communicate. Give me the person that knows how to communicate has 0 leads, so we can
do something with that.
We can work with that. I've seen that a bunch where you've had a couple. I've seen a bunch of people just saying, I have a huge network of people. Is that you still got to do the work. You got to learn how to communicate. You got to read books. You got to adjust and fine tune your language, ask good questions.
It's your skill set, which a lot of people don't understand. It's a skill set.
Yeah. I mean, just because I have 5,000 people on my phone doesn't mean I can convert business. It gives you a better chance.
It does.
But to go back to your question, I think, the toughest thing I've had to deal with, I just thinking about all this and talking to you guys, bringing it back, when I was in the jewelry business and then I lost my dad and then I got audited. And then I also, I didn't get along with my brother-in-law. So I was out of a job, audited, and my father just passed away tragically. And then I got into this thing, but this helped me get through that. You got to tell me, this industry helped me get through that. It was incredibly hard. It was the toughest moment of my life for me, my sister, and my mom. And it was just plugging away all the classes and going. Keller Williams was just such a incredible culture place where we were all sharing with each other. You don't see that in a lot of places.
I'm doing this 23 years, Alan. We shared nothing back.
Nothing.
You and I both know it's such a cutthroat business.
I'm going to give you false information.
Yeah, you couldn't even leave a CMA on a copy machine, much less anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. This whole concept of you can come in and shadow me or help me with an open house and all that. Yeah. I want the buyers. I'm not going to give it.
I'm not going to give it to you, right?
So it's being here really helped me get through that at the toughest point in my life. And, the people, the Keller Williams, the training, the books, all the collaboration. I mean, having things together like this, you could just have your own podcast with your boy here and I can just do mine separately, but we're here to lift each other up.
Collaborate. We appreciate you.
Appreciate that. Right? And so, out of the really tough stuff that happened in my life at that moment came some really beautiful things that helped me build a house for my family, helped me grow a business. And so, I'm forever grateful for the black and red Keller Williams.
Real estate was therapy for you. Wow,
it was different. It was really different. A lot of people, when you ask them, hey, why'd you get into real estate? I want to make a ton of money. I saw it on TV. I want to be on TV. For me, it was I was a tennis professional. At some point, I hated it and I dropped it. I was in jewelry for a while. Then I wound up also towards the end of it not liking, but I also had these other events that happened. So I left it. I did really well. We did really well in that too.
Nice.
And then I had this form of therapy with real estate and, helping people. When I first got that first check, I was like, whoa, it's like $7,000.
Nice.
And it was quick. Yeah. And then I didn't do shit for months. And it was like, oh man, this is easy. When I first got that check, I still have a picture of it on my phone.
Let me go buy a fur hat.
I was like, I'm going to buy the beautiful Russian hats. I honestly, I was so like, this is easy. Why is everybody not doing this? And then reality set it. I wasn't getting after leads. I was sitting in that classroom. I just had a friend of a friend that needed an apartment. And that was my first deal, $7,000. It was nice. It was amazing. I didn't even know how to do the paperwork for it. I had help with from the office. Right. But then you learn it's a real business. You have to have a plan and failure, failing to make, have a plan will be essentially failure. And so, forever grateful for that. So
nice. How old were you when you bought your first piece of real estate? And was that positive then or a disaster for you?
So I was living in the city and moved in with somebody, bought a place in Queens, and the agent that I met was the agent we used. He got both sides of the transaction. He pulled over real fast when I gave him.
Love to see him.
Yeah, it was great for him. And then he's like, what offer do you want to put in? And I told him on the phone, and then he put a contract price of a different number. He's like, oh, I thought you said 360. And I said 340. And he's like, put down 360. He's like, no, that's not going to work. And then so I wound up overpaying from the beginning, not hiring an agent. And then, that relationship and things changed, and I needed to get out of that apartment. I had him for a year, and the experience was awful. Like, nobody was coming by. There was other listings in the building. I saw that I was stalking the building from across the street, watching the open houses, and I would see nobody come out on my balcony, but they'd come out on the other balcony on the other listing.
The other one was his too?
The other had the sponsor, the other apartments in the building, and he had my listing. It's just pushing people to the other stuff. And I tested him on this. That's maybe where I got the idea for the test. I had one of my friends call up and say, can you show me this apartment? Right. She came by and treated her poorly. And they took her out of the apartment in 5 seconds and showed her, hey, I got something else. So I fired him immediately. Then I took on the whole fun of it being a for sale by owner. And, we had board rejections. I was there stuck for another year. I was losing money on maintenance. I probably was in arrears for 6, 7, 8 months. Well, I didn't know how to put together a board package. I did whatever I could. And the guy was rejected by the board, even though he owned a bank. It was like all conflict thing. Yeah, it was crazy. But they eventually sold it. I sold it for $320. I paid $360. Now that apartment, and this was in 2008, right? So this is like right before I sold. I bought it right before the crash, literally 2 months before the crash. When I sold it right as about to go back up. That apartment sold for double. $360,000 apartment sold for about $800,000. 2-bed, 2-bath in Regal Park. Well, so good agent would have told me, hey, rent this sucker out.
We're going to it for a minute.
Onto it for more than 2 seconds, right? So I didn't have that good agent. And I didn't know who the agent was, right? And thank God for some of these laws that came enacted. I think some of it's actually helped our industry.
Right. Definitely does. I think more disclosure.
Yeah, it's like more transparency.
More transparency.
People going out not just signing any paperwork, and then they come sign paperwork with me. Why am I signing paperwork with you? This guy didn't ask me to sign paperwork. I was like, well, you're lucky. I'm doing things the right way.
The right way of law. Right. And they look at us as if we're doing something wrong, right?
Yeah, I don't like to sign paperwork, but if you're explaining to me why and that it's a requirement, I'll do it. Yeah. So, from that ridiculous experience and having the terrible agent advice, I do the opposite of all that now, right? How can I help you today? What am I going to do to get you as close as possible to your goals, right? We cannot always nail it right on the dot. Right? Get that. We list it. The market tells us what it is, and then we have some elements of, if we can negotiate better or not, or, a lot of other things. But I can't promise you, it's not a linear thing. If you do this, you do that, you're going to get that. Because it's people. And there's a lot of moving parts. And I was just about to say moving 6 to 7, 8 people on the deals from the attorney or stuff like that. So I love the excitement of that. And yeah, you have the occasional difficult client, and you have the occasional sad story, and you have, the really exciting parts of it. I just love that it's, my wife has a business, it works in a medical business, so boring. And so she loves my stories. I make her sign an NDA. Don't worry about the clients. I don't put names to them. But it's an exciting business and a really great opportunity for people to attain wealth for themselves and for their own businesses, agents as their own, for themselves.
Nice. So your advice would be to anyone get in the business?
Don't do it. No, after all that, no, my advice is really get a mentor, get into coaching. If you're going to do this part-time, make sure that it makes sense that you have some other stable income. Yeah. If that's your situation. But I would say just talk to as many people as possible and learn how to communicate. Practice that. I coach this all the time. Talk to as many people as possible. Practice talking to as many people. Do some role playing, script practicing. Hey, I find this is a good tip. I'll share this with you. A lot of agents, they practice. You be the seller and I'll be the agent, or you be the buyer. Not practice as if you're a stranger I met at a mutual friends party, because that's more likely going to happen when you run able to sell by owner.
That's true.
So it's a really interesting thing, because a lot of people don't want to be talking to the really annoying realtor at the party, because they're just giving out cards left and right. You know that person.
Yes.
They're only there to give out cards and get business, not there to.
Those are the ones we shy away from.
Right? So we practice a lot of that casual scenarios at the barbecue with family, or you're at a friend's dinner party, or you're in an elevator going somewhere, and somebody starts
like you said.
I heard two cops talking about real estate the other day, and I stopped. They got a little nervous about that, but I overheard them. I was like, "Hey, I'm a real estate. I'm safe. As I have a business card. I'm in real estate. I overheard you talking. I'm a really good mortgage person. They were talking about mortgage rate, and so it's having your antenna up,
Yes,
and
kind of ear hustling, I call it.
ear hustling, and then practicing that. If you could do nothing else as a new person, that would be my two recommendations.
I used to do him this practice in the mirror.
Practice in the mirror. Record yourself in your voice. That'll change things. I hate the sound of it.
You and me both.
Right? But doing those two things, practice talking to people, talk to as many people, you're gonna fuck it up also. And as you learn and you get better, tighten it up. You'll tighten it up and get better.
Nice.
That's my best advice.
Nice. You gonna say something?
I was going to say, what is your 5-year plan for the future?
So I would like to be really well known as the two-state titan of New York and New Jersey real estate. That's my 5-year plan. Is if you're living in New York and know of anybody moving to New Jersey, or thinking about somehow doing that commute or change of pace, you got to think of my face, because I can speak New Yorker better than the other Jersey agents, in my opinion, because I broke my bones there in negotiating and dealing with all the craziness of New York real estate. And so really my 5-year plan is to be in both states, and then maybe taking it down to Florida, because we have a lot of like that triangle of New York, New Jersey, Florida.
Right.
So I think my 5-year plan would have just be so well known in both states that I can go down to Florida to open up a business there.
Nice. How do people reach you?
You go to bigkeyteam.com. That's our team name, bigkeyteam.com. All our contact information is really easy to kind of follow there. And don't be shy. Give us a call, send us an email. And, even if you're not ready to do something, we can, give you some advice, and it's going to come from the right place.
Well, you start a conversation, like you said, and then we just, we nurture it and we just keep it going.
Absolutely. Some of my clients I've had since day one, right? You stayed in touch. They've not unsubscribed for 10 years.
Nice.
Some of our earlier contact kind of sucked, but it's gotten tighter and cooler and funner and more informative the last few years.
Nice. Well, we appreciate you again for,
and I want to thank you for having me on.
Thank you,
man.
Appreciate you.
And you got a real super dad here. I mean, my dad wanted me to get involved with his automotive business, and I became a mechanic, and I was like, can't afford me, Pops. It's a real beautiful thing to see. And you guys you're doing something really fun and interesting. And, thanks for having me on. I really loved it.
No problem. We appreciate it. If you guys are looking for something, New York or New Jersey, tap it with Alan. He's definitely the guy for it. If you're looking to sell, buy, or invest in real estate, 516-218-1605.
516-662-6824.
And you can tap in with me, Femi the Agent, and all socials.
I'm Femi the Realtor on Instagram.
Have a great day, guys. Stay safe.